Steelers Hall of Honor. Who's next? Steelers Nation Unite is giving you the chance to nominate who you think should be in the 2018 Hall of Honor class. Each week, Hall of Honor selection panel member Stan Savran reviews select Steelers Nation Unite nominations. Now here's Stan with this week's featured nominees.
And to give us to Hoge, look at him, running out to the left. He's heading for the end zone, and a Pittsburgh touchdown.
And Jim Hoge is kicking our ass, y'all. He's whooping our ass right now. Hoge, whatever the name is.
It's Hoge, not Hoge. That was Dennis Smith. Very good safety for the Denver Broncos. And you'll remember that playoff game where Merril was just fantastic in that game. And the two Hall of Honor candidates that we're going to discuss today, Merril Hoge and Alan Faneca. We may not have to worry about Alan Faneca because the way this works, if you are elected to the Pro Football Hall of Fame in Canton, you're automatically in the Hall of Honor. That should have happened already. Alan Faneca deserves to be in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. And maybe that's a provincial argument, but when you stop and consider, he was a 6-time All-Pro. He was regarded by most as the best at his position. I don't think that the Hall of Fame should be about comparing a guard from the 90s or 2000 with a guard from the 80s. That's not what the Hall of Fame is about. You're judged on how good a player you were during your era. You can say, well, he wasn't as good as John Hanna. That's not the criterion. The question is, when you played, were you the best or among the best during the time you did play? Allen was in the NFL for 13 seasons, 10 with the Steelers. As I mentioned, 6 All-Pro designations, 9 Pro Bowl, and I think most would agree, indisputably, the greatest offensive lineman of his era, certainly the greatest guard. This nomination comes from Steelers Nation Unite member Kenneth King. Thank you, Kenneth. He's a Super Bowl winner. And again, he'll be in Canton, and then we won't have the discussion. But when you talk about Alan Faneca, during the time that he played, he was considered the best, or certainly the top 2 at his position. And that's what if I were a voter, well, I am a voter in the Hall of Honor, but if I were a voter for the Hall of Fame, that's what I would look at. Alan Faneca unquestionably deserves to be in the Steelers Hall of Honor and goes a step above that. By the way, let me mention that if you would like to be a member of Steelers Nation Unite and have a chance to nominate players for the Steelers Hall of Honor, all you have to do is go to SteelersNationUnite.com. It's that simple. You join up, doesn't cost anything. There's all kinds of great offers for members of Steelers Nation all over across the country. So if you're listening to me out of town on a podcast or on iHeartRadio, you can stay connected. All kinds of opportunities for you there, and you can then nominate a favorite Steeler for induction into the Hall of Honor at Heinz Field, the great hall. Now, can't help you with Canton. I don't vote in that either, but for the Hall of Honor, you can have a part in that. The second player we're discussing, and we'll do 2 every week, and we will have a new class for the Hall of Honor this year, somewhere between 2 and 4 new members, and I don't say players because it can be coaches, it can be front office personnel, it could be ownership, scouts, and we'll begin meeting in the summer. And we'll be looking at all the nominees provided by members of Steelers Nation Unite. Our second player to discuss is Merril Hoge. Was Merril Hoge the best Steeler running back of all time? No. Was he the best running back in the NFL during his years in the NFL? No. But that doesn't mean that he wasn't a very good player. And the thing that I liked about Merril, he was a late round draft choice. No one ever heard of him. He made it the hard way. 10th round pick. Those guys don't get automatic spots, but he impressed Chuck Noll and the coaching staff. First of all, with how sound he was fundamentally. If he made a mistake, he never made the same mistake twice. And he was determined. If you needed a yard, he'd get 37 inches just to make sure. He was a gritty player. And let's remember, he played on teams that weren't very good. Most of them were not very good. When he got his chance to shine in the playoffs in '89, he most certainly did. And he was consistent. He didn't have up and down games. He was consistent. He was a good blocker. Catch the ball out of the backfield. And I know this because covering the team closely during those years, those were the years that I was announcing the game, the exhibition games on Channel 4. I was at camp all the time and around them all the time. He was a real leader. Plus, his toughest responsibility was keeping an eye out for Bubby. Because Bubby, left to his own devices, could get into trouble. And Merril was his moral compass. And I know this is all supposed to be about football. But when you stop and think about what Merril had to go through, first of all, his career was shortened because of his concussion issues. Remember, he finished up with the Bears. And since then, he's been a crusader for safety in football. Crusading to the NFL, got to do a better job and protect these players. He's been very active in that. And we were just talking about this earlier about the Jimmy V Foundation. Let's not forget that Merril Hoge is a cancer survivor. Went through a long period of chemotherapy treatment. And he's back healthy. I just saw him because he emceed the Hall of Honor induction banquet last November, Thanksgiving weekend. They brought him in because he's with ESPN to MC, did a great job. He's just a good person. And I know it's supposed to be about football, but I think his football warrants him a spot in the Steelers Hall of Honor, but also about the way he represented the Steelers. He still considers himself a Steeler. And yeah, personality, grace, motivational speaking for his Find a Way campaign, motivating others, I think that should be a factor. And if Merril's name, well, it will come up now because a Hall of Honor nomination has been made by a member of Steelers Nation Unite. Yeah, I think all those things. If Merril Hoge, an ambassador for the Steelers, the city of Pittsburgh, and what we are all about. We will do this every week, looking over some of the Hall of Honor nominees from you, members of Steelers Nation Unite. And again, if you'd like to be a part of Steelers Nation Unite, very simple. Just go to SteelersNationUnite.com. You sign up. You're automatically a member. You get to nominate and take advantage of some great fan opportunities.